We are in Kaplankaya on the southwestern coast of Turkey for our annual gathering, Harvest Series. Here we bring some of the greatest minds with expert speakers, renowned practitioners and talented performers. All aimed at opening our minds, creating curiosity and imagining a brighter future. I hope you'll enjoy this interview. Hello, today my guests are Allyson and Alex Grey. They are artistic and spiritual partners exploring the nature of consciousness and spirituality through their art and other creative projects like the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, which they co-founded, a non-profit organization dedicated to promoting visionary art and spirituality. Today we'll talk about their art, creativity, inspiration, and the team they are. Hello, Allyson and Alex.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for being here in Kaplankaya and in this conference room for the Harvest podcast series. So my first question, I stole it from you, from your podcast, and I really liked it. You asked to an artist, were you specially gifted as a kid, and who was the first teacher who noticed your skill? Or the first person who encouraged you?
My father, who was an artist. And so I think I just loved watching him draw. It was very magical, to see a blank piece of paper and then a pencil skates over it, and suddenly there's a creature there that didn't exist just moments before. So for me, it's always been completely magical, and I'm still, enraptured by the whole act of creating pictures.
And for me, it was my mother who went to art school and taught me first to draw a cube of all things. She, would put a square down, and then she'd put another square across it, and then attach the points, the angles, and you have a cube. And I was amazed, like how to make something three-dimensional. And of course, squares have always been something that has, been in my art.
Because you think of this moment?
No, I don't know. I think it just happened, and I realized it later on, actually. But squares are, from the material world, they're human-made shapes. There's very few squares in nature, so I think of myself as an artist of the material realm.
When did you have the moment when you thought, this is it, I'm going to be an artist and live from it?
I think I always kind of sensed I was an artist. And so I haven't had any doubt about that from the time I was a child. I since then have imagined that I had a past life as an artist too, that kind of made that transition a little easier too.
But your father was a professional artist.
Yes.
So you had the sense that a person can make a living and have a family and have a home and raise children or whatever. And for me, as a woman, I guess nothing else felt like who I really was. It's just an identity that you start off with, and if you're true to yourself, you just keep making art. And, I went to art school from high school and continued on.
How was your practice of meditation and spiritual exploration influence your art?
I kind of got introduced to spirituality through psychedelics. Then I could see that there was truly a spiritual world. And that encouraged me to study meditation and find a way to be in contact with this spirituality, on a daily basis rather than just at these special times when I would journey. And so and it also sent me on a spiritual quest through the various traditions and things. And so we've studied a lot of different traditions, and Tibetan Buddhist meditation became something that I was really drawn to. And so that has completely influenced my way of meditating and bringing artwork forward.
I think that it's spirituality through psychedelics is really one of the main reasons that we got together. That I had a spiritual experience on psychedelics that I didn't share with anybody because I hadn't been a particularly spiritual person before that, and it really shifted who I saw myself as. And then when Alex first took LSD in my apartment at my party and called me the next day to talk about his God contact, I spilled. I spilled the beans to him, that this is something that I'd been keeping to myself, that, I remember thinking after 3 years of taking LSD, I took LSD in a different, new way for me, which was in a dark room by myself before I knew Alex. And I remember thinking, this is what people call God, because I really hadn't seen God or known God before that. And after that, I couldn't not know God. So when Alex was telling me about having had a spiritual opening on my couch, we'd never left. We just stayed together ever since.
You were already dating, and you were at
We weren't
school?
dating at all.
No.
We were. He was, like somebody I invited to my party. We were in art school together, and it was the end of the year party, and I invited him and our professor, who he worked for, and I was dating. And so I invited them to come to my apartment for this end of year party, and Alex took LSD, and so did I. But I had been doing LSD for 6 years by then. So, but anyway, Alex.
I had a breakthrough.
And Alex had a breakthrough and came into my life.
It was, I guess, my first psychedelic vision. And when I closed my eyes, I was in a tunnel. I was in the dark, but I was going toward the light. And it was a spiralic kind of tunnel. And I could see that all the different shades of gray brought the opposites together. And so from that point on, I decided to change my name to Grey. And I had a direction. I could see that there was a spiritual reality, that because the light that was ahead was, I called it God for lack of another better term for it, but it's, the ultimate mystery, the ultimate reality, and all answers to all your questions. And so, and pure love. And so all of that was in the light. And so that's what I got to see in Allyson's apartment that day. And that turned my life around, because I was very depressed before that. And this gave me a new a rebirth. And,
Really? Okay.
yeah. And so with that confidence, I guess, and excitement, I called her up the next day to find out what happened to her and whether she'd like to go out and everything.
Wow.
Then we went out once and we never left.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And since then, how have each other arts influenced each other?
Well, we've shared it. We've shared a studio for 48 years. So we have been in the same room working, and we have our separate bodies of work, and we also have work that we do together. So we've always we've done performances. We were in art school. We were in a class that was focused on performance and mixed media and conceptual art, and so we kind of come out of that in our work. Although both of us were painters as well, so we paint in the same room, but we also plan installations and performances and. All of our years.
I would say that we both have had a profound influence on each other's work, and she's given me probably most of my best ideas, by seeing into the work. She suggested the sacred mirrors as a series of works that detail the body, mind, and spirit of a person, and even named them. So, and I suggested to her
Yes,
that,
I was going to say
that the
definitely. Yeah.
her secret language, which she had been hiding from people, would be an important element in her work. And
Well, because secret writing was what came to me when I first said, "Oh, this was what people must call God." It came to me in light language, like a light, like in light, and I was making art from it, but not showing it because I couldn't talk about LSD at school and places like that. It was very taboo in the 70s. But Alex saw it as a very important. It was the most important thing, and it became my master's thesis and my work for 40-some years. So.
What has been the most challenging thing for you being an artist? What's the most and the most rewarding, maybe?
You always want to make your work better than it's been. So if you're successful in making something better, then you still, after that, want to make something better than that.
So it's never
And
finished.
so it's always a challenge, you know. You feel like, well, you have to outdo yourself or renew yourself, and so that in itself is the most challenging and rewarding thing, because sometimes it pushes you to have a breakthrough and make better work, or go in a new direction, and it's art is always evolving. You know, creativity is kind of evolution in your hands, and so that's that's the important thing, and because you're not finished till you're dead.
It's not finished till it's good.
Yeah.
And it's not good until it's finished. So
Oh.
so it really goes both ways. But
And when do you know, like, that's, I'm
well,
leaving
when
it
do you
like
know
this,
that? How
it's
do you
good
know
enough,
it's done?
it's fantastic
How do you know
enough?
that it's done?
Well, for me, it's a feeling. For Allyson, she fills in the last square and it's done. And for me, it's sometimes a little more ambiguous, but it has to do with my feelings that were the source of the work becoming more and more present. And now I feel like I may have had a vision that I'm trying to reproduce, but that during that vision, I was having a particular feeling. And so when the feeling starts to come when I'm looking at the work, then I think it's near done.
Well, you've managed to recreate what you were feeling. Okay.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah.
My work is a meditation. So, you know, I plan it out and work with my design until it's done, till the meditation is over. So the meditation is over when it's all complete. You know, it's just, you know, when it's complete.
Alex, you have said that you were an introvert as a child, and that art helped you. If you consider art as a therapy, what can people, if they don't consider themselves gifted, what can they do to feel better?
Just like exercise, you know, we all can use exercise of one kind or another. I think creativity is like that. You know, we're all naturally creative. Every thought that we have is a new creation, and you know what we say about our lives, and we're the author of that story. You know, naturally. I like to draw, and I think that a lot of people give up drawing, you know, after a certain time. We all were natural born artists when we came out, you know, and most people enjoyed making art as children. But then they give up such childish things after a while. But so I always encourage people, if they're having also difficult emotions and things, it's really wonderful to make a picture based on something that may be your despair or your upset or, whatever kind of challenging emotion you're having, because you're able to get the monster out of the box, out of your head. And it's something interesting, psychologists say that the way that we transform is by having our subjective state, which is our feelings and everything, that we become more objective about our subjective state. Art literally objectifies your subjective state.
Okay.
And so this can be a healing method for anybody. Doesn't require talent or anything like that. It can be helpful in getting out our emotions.
What would be, Allyson, a concrete advice for people who say they don't have the time to be creative?
Well, I see creativity as a health factor. You could say I don't have time to exercise, but you know that it's good for you because you benefit from it, and you wouldn't want to live without exercise. And I think it's like that. Everyone is creative, and there are many kinds of creativity. You don't have to paint, but I think when it comes to time, when it comes to art, it really takes, like 4 things to be an artist. If you want to have an art practice, you have to have time. You have to make the time. You make an appointment with yourself and you keep it. You have to have if it's best for you in the morning, then you do morning. If it's evening, it's evening. Then there's space. You have to have space because it's a material world thing. So you have to have time. You have to have space. You have to have the materials. You have to decide what materials you're going to use. So that's another thing. If you're going to be a painter or a sculptor or a potter, whatever, you have to have the materials. So there's the time, the space. The space would be good if you didn't have to clean it up every time. Some place where you can go jump back into it easily. And then the 4th thing that Alex always says is the most important thing, and I agree, and that is the content, the subject matter. What are you making art about? And that takes a certain passion. It takes an interest. You have to study and look at other people's art. Looking at other people's art helps you to decide what materials you want to use too. What really attracts you. So you become interested in art, and you look at other people's art, and you learn how to create your own techniques, but also learn the techniques of other artists. So that's what it takes to have an art practice. And I think just like having an exercise practice, you have to know certain things and have a place to do it and have the right shoes, and it's like that.
Can art help to have a spiritual awakening?
Creative spirit, is something that is engaged whenever we're making art or being creative. And so I think that that's raw spirituality. You're always engaging spirit through creation. We think of the creator, as manifesting the universe. And so we think all we are is expressions of this cosmic creative force. We can't help but be creative, really.
If you could attend psychedelic ritual of the past, which one would it be and why?
A psychedelic experience of our past?
Yes.
Of the past.
Of the past. Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Did you had something in mind? Go for it.
Well, I don't know, but in Greece, there was the Eleusinian mysteries that's sort of at the foundation of Western civilization, and they used to drink something called the koukion, and so Plato, Socrates, all the great philosophers, and Sappho and poets and things like that were initiates into the Eleusinian mysteries. And so this is seen now by scholars to be a psychedelic ritual it went on for days, but at a certain point, they drank this brew. And so we're going to visit Eleusis because we're in that part of the world now, and we've never been there before. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think that just thinking about it like now, I suppose that would be my choice.
In my past, I think that the most profound psychedelic experiences that I've had have been either by myself or with Alex, just very one-on-one. So it's like attending, like a very small ritual. I mean, I have been in psychedelic rituals with groups, and I think they have a certain benefit. They really teach you about groups. They teach you about how you fit into your community and how you can relate. How do you relate to others, and how does it make you feel being with others? And that's very important. But the most inner experiences, the most profound inner revelations that I've ever had, and visions that I've ever had, have really been either in my solo journey or in my journeys with Alex, because we are partners in that and support that.
Can you explain, for example, one of the psychedelic experience you had and how you translated it into your art concretely?
Well, one of the most profound experiences that I've ever had was June 3rd, 1976, when we were taking LSD, and it felt like the material world kind of dissolved and we became energy, and balls of energy that were kind of circulating with this light. The light was connecting all these infinite balls of light, which was like every other being in the universe. We were all connected and sharing the same light, and the light was love. And so it seemed outside of time somehow, and yet it seemed more real than kind of sitting here, Yeah. And so this was a very profound experience, because Allyson had the same experience. And we, after an eternity in this space, which probably lasted 20 minutes, we came out and we started drawing this same space. Okay. Oh. And so it had a shape. And so we could see that, but both of us saw it sort of from a different angle. But it completely affected our work. And I tried to reproduce this space in a painting called The Universal Mind Lattice, where I was kind of as if the body had dissolved and it would, was a ball of light like that, and tried to suggest all the infinite light beings that it was connected to. So that's part of the Sacred Mirror series. And Allyson, you want to talk about?
Well, within that experience, we were drawing it from like two different perspectives. You were drawing it as the single figure, the one node, but all of the nodes. There was a vast vista of nodes that were all interconnected and made of light, and mine were multicolored strands, but and I was hovering over the top of sort of a field of these fountains and drains of energy that were, suck holes and blow holes. It started where we were lying down, and it was coming out of my head and going into Alex's head and out of my feet and going into his feet. So I could completely see how he was kind of painting this one single human, the node that he was, interacting and interrelated with all the other nodes. And mine was kind of from the top looking down into the funnel. So, we think of our work as coming from the same place many times, but we, have our own styles and ways
Interpretation,
of interpreting it. Yeah.
Our common subject is this transcendental light of interconnectedness.
How do you look at death as artists and human beings?
Since I have a sense of a prior lifetime, I have an imagining, and a belief, I guess, that reincarnation is something that happens, or a transformation of consciousness from out of the body to a spiritual reality. And whether you take a different human body or whether you stay in the spirit for a while, it all depends. In the Tibetan system, they say you got 49 days in the bardo after death, to choose a new body, basically a new life. I believe that, I think that happens, I think that, a lot of humanity has accepted the idea of reincarnation as being a natural thing. That's how I come down in it.
I think we both agree on that experience. Before I met Alex, I had a revelation of a past life that was kind of tragic, but it revealed a lot about the characteristics that I came into this life with. I had this revelation that I had been a child who died of starvation, and I saw my feet were dirty and and rag for a dress, and I was very small and young when I died, and it gave me the feeling that this is why I came into this life small, and also fortunate. I was gifted with lots of, everything that I needed, more than everything that I needed in this lifetime. So lucky to be born into the life that I was born into. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
appreciative,
What was the idea behind creating the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors?
Well, in 1984, we took our first MDMA experience. It was actually legal at the time. And we had just agreed to sell all the sacred mirrors to a wealthy collector who, wanted to buy them all. Because I wouldn't let Alex sell them unless he sold them all as one thing, because they really were inspired by a performance that we did called Life Energy. And on our way home from this performance, I suggested to Alex, those charts that you did, those very simple ink charts of the body that people were reflecting on the inside of their body, and they were life size. They loved those charts. You should do, oil paintings of things like that. That'd be a great series, the body, mind, and spirit of a... Anyway, it was always meant to be an installation. And we would go around looking for a place where they might show these paintings, because they were all life-size. They were big, a lot. But anyway, then this guy was going to buy them all. And we had this revelation in our MDMA experience that we had to build a temple, that we had to build an installation of this work that would be a permanent gift to other people who were taking psychedelics, like a tripping space, it'd be really great to be able to reflect on and have those experiences. And so we couldn't sell them, and we had to break our deal. It's more money than we had ever imagined getting, and we just said, no, we can't do this. And so in 1985, we started building it from the inside out. We made these 10.5-foot frames, 21 of them sculpted, everything, in 1985. And just that same year, we just started getting to work. But it took a lot longer to manifest.
How transmission is a key for your couple, or how important is it for your couple?
Well, it's an interesting word, transmission. In Tibetan Buddhism, they talk about transmitting the teaching, and that when it's effectively transmitted, sort of eternal Buddha field, comes through and blesses us, with the possibility of practicing and getting in touch with that spiritual energy. And so in these couple of visions that both Allyson was describing and I was describing, the universal mind lattice, and then this MDMA journey where Allyson saw this temple space, but I also saw this temple space. It was another simultaneous vision. When we came out of it, we described this, we both were in this temple. So for me, those visions are transmissions, from a spiritual source, and it's given our lives direction, And so since we shared those transmissions, it helps us to overcome all our petty differences and things like that, because we have goals that we share, a kind of a third force that has been keeping us directed toward manifesting these basically inspirations, that we felt like, oh, I guess we're supposed to build a temple. How do you do that? And so but it gives your life a direction.
Okay.
And a place to house the visionary art that we've been working on, because it feels like it should belong to the public, to people, and not just to single collectors who might put it in a vault or hide it away somewhere.
What, Alex and Allyson, what would you say about each other's contribution to evolutionary art?
Well, I don't know. I think that's a question that for the future, I mean, I think that what you ultimately would like is that people would value it in the future. And I think for us, creating a temple is a commitment to sharing the work publicly. I mean, we founded a church, and that's partially because with the church, at least in America, it's a way of gifting the next generation. Everything that, that is in it belongs to the community that loves it, the people who will take care of it and hopefully pass it along from generation to generation. But the inevitable consequence of love, which is what we have, and what you end up having with a community, a community that is aligned, in principles, they can be all different, careers and all different professions, but if their principles are aligned, they can organize around a spiritual core. And so the inevitable consequence of love, group love, is building a temple. And you see it all over the world. We've been traveling all over the world for our lifetime, visiting sacred sites. We just visited the Hagia Sophia, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to come here, because we wanted to see it, because it is one of the great spiritual institutions built by a community that started in the 500 AD or something. They built the third temple that they built was completed then. So it's like communities of love come together and build a representative architecture, new and different. Some are very new. The Baha'i temples are very modern, and so we wanted to create a contemporary structure that represented interspiritual honoring of all traditions, like we have, a strong commitment to today. People actually do love spirituality, and they really do love gathering in the name of spirit. So, but today it's, respect for everyone's tradition is important. So that was kind of the core values of our church, and passing that along is, it's our greatest desire.
Yeah. We're creating a sacred offering, a gift.
And how do you picture the visionary art in the future? What do you think it's going to be its natural evolution?
I think that digital media has really shown us where, visionary art can go. Animation and the various kinds of, probably even AI development is enabling people to make visible, these inner worlds. There's no camera that you can put on the sort of theater of the imagination yet, and that's the job of the artist, to make that imaginal, or as William Blake used to call it, the divine imagination, to bring that into form. And so I think all the tools will be brought to bear. And I think that as psychedelics become more legally allowed, throughout the world, this hunger for seeing these inner worlds represented will become greater and greater, and there will be greater, amazing artists that will be able to manifest these spaces with a lot more fidelity and a lot more detail. So I look forward to that. I hope I'll see more of it before I die.
New mediums have always been revolutionary throughout art history. Like photography was, they would try to make it look like a painting. They didn't know how to, early on, just take photography as a medium in itself. And it wasn't respected as much early on. It was just a toy or something. The airbrush is the same way. Is it okay to use an airbrush? I mean, is that cheating, Yeah. So I think when it comes to digital art, it's the same thing. There's a lot of skepticism and kind of stuff on AI and everything, but it is a medium that will be used, accepted, and I don't know, grow the field of art.
The last question, the question that I'm asking to everybody, all the guests of the Harvest series podcast, if there is one thing that gives you hope, what is it?
I'm hopeful about the spirit of love that is, I think, at the foundation of all people. And for me, because my life was saved by psychedelics, basically, and helped me to find love, I think that one of the best things on the horizon is psychedelic therapy and the potential for psychedelics to become integrated back into the spiritual traditions. So this gives me hope, because with these transformational experiences, it often gives people a sense of the love of nature and a sense of reverence for the web of life. And I think that this is what's crucial and necessary for people to stop doing the things that are harming the planet, is to love the planet and want to have a world to gift our children and their children, to think ahead before we destroy ourselves and destroy a masterpiece of a planet.
I have a feeling about the word hope. Hope is it lives in the unconsciousness of people. I hope it'll one day be okay. Help lives in conscious action. And so I look forward to lots and lots of help. Lots of help that's what I see as going on here at Harvest, is people who really have the means and they have the intelligence and the genius so many times to really help, to find solutions to world problems, that can really lift us out of, some of the mistakes that we've made in the past, and take us to a new level of consciousness. So I like to use the word help, and I see that with every speaker, they are finding ways to help, and that's really a wonderful thing about this conference. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Allyson Grey, Alex Grey, for your time and sharing your experience and vision of creativity and spirituality. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Harvest Series. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to hear more, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. See you soon for the next interview.